Okay, so the other area that we need to look here on the retina is this area right here. This is the optic disc. This is the place where all of the axons that are carrying information from the cells in the retina eventually come together to form the optic nerve, the stalk of the optic nerve. Okay, so this is the only place on the posterior eye where there are no photoreceptors. So you cannot create any visual images at that spot. So the other name for the optic disc is our blind spot. And even though we have a blind spot, it doesn't look like we have one because our brain fills in that spot actually with whatever information it thinks belongs there. Okay, so here's the little stalk of the optic nerve that we were just looking at. Okay, and here's the rest of the optic nerve here, and you can see that the optic nerve is coming, and imagine that there is another optic nerve coming from this side. I'll hold the probe here as if it's the other optic nerve. Okay, so we have both eyes with their optic nerves coming together, and then they intersect with each other and actually exchange axons. So some of the axons that were in this optic nerve stay on this side, and some of them cross over here and go to the opposite side, and the same thing happens with the optic nerve on this side. Okay, so this location where the two optic nerves exchange axons is called the optic chiasm. Okay, and this is what allows our visual cortices on both sides of our occipital lobes and our cerebrum to get an image of what's happening in each eye, or what each eye is registering as far as visual information. So that really helps us a lot with gauging distance, because we kind of compare visually what each eye sees so we know how far something is away from us, etc. It's one reason people with one eye lose a lot of their depth perception, because they don't have that comparison coming in anymore. Okay, let's come around to the eye again, the front part here, and I'm going to take off our vascular tunic and our retina, our neural tunic, and just want to look at the spaces that we have here in the eye. Okay, I'm going to take this large structure out of here for a moment. Okay, and remember we were talking about light coming in and going through the cornea, and then it goes through this space. Okay, and this space is connected via the pupil with this little space here, which is just anterior to the lens. And those two locations together are referred to as the anterior segment. Okay, now the anterior segment is a location where we have a fluid called the aqueous humor. Okay, and the aqueous humor is produced by capillaries in the ciliary body. It comes out of those capillary beds into the posterior part of the anterior segment, comes through the pupil, and then comes here into the anterior area or chamber of the anterior segment, and then it eventually drains into little veins that are at the border of the cornea and the sclera. Okay, so in some older individuals, typically older, but sometimes in younger individuals too, those drainage veins for the aqueous humor become blocked, and that's what leads to glaucoma. Okay, another disorder that looks like our person is suffering from is cataracts. When you have crystallization in the lens that makes the lens opaque, that's how cataracts develop. Okay, now the aqueous humor, since it's coming from the capillaries and circulating, is constantly being refreshed. The back part of the eye here, which is referred to as the posterior segment, is much larger, and it has material in it that is a little more permanent, and that's what this shape represents. This is representing the vitreous body. Okay, now the vitreous body is more of a semi-solid consistency, even though it's clear. It's semi-solid, and part of its job is obviously to let the light through, because we want the light to pass from the lens to the retina so we can collect visual information. But we also need something a little firmer here, because the attachment between the retina and the choroid is pretty weak. So this is going to give us a little more structural support in the eye for, again, helping to maintain shape along with the sclera, but it's also going to press the retina up against the choroid to keep the two of them in a good relationship with each other. Okay, so that's our overview of the eye.